Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Ryan. Fair enough. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon is the truth. We are actually taping later than usual today. Good afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
Hello. It is Wednesday, February 28th, the last day of February. How about that?
Is this the real one where there's 28 days? It's not the skip year where there's 29?
Skip year.
Leap year.
That might be it.
Oh, okay.
That's correct. When I said the 28th and the last day, that means we do not have a 29th this year.
But 28's normal. It's not like 29's normal.
Are you one of those 52 stars on the flag people?
No.
Are you sure?
No, I'm going to stop right now. I know where I got confused, but it's really just not relevant.
All right. Well, all right. It is Wednesday, February 28th. Worth a little bit thrown off here because we had a guest schedule for today who had to cancel last minute.
Boo.
Yeah, she's fine and everything, and she will be here next week. I think Tuesday of next week. However, Kate Post will not be here today. So with that, we had to scramble, but we decided to put a show on because that's what we do. And if my shirt doesn't say it all, we're a little bit upset at Kate. No, not really. The irony is, of course, and I'm fairly certain that she's testing us because the irony of her being a former booker and producer, and it's almost like she's just, tightening our skin or something, toughening our skin.
Yeah, she texted. She's like, when I come on, I want to tell you about when celebs flaked on my shows and how we fixed it. I'm like,
thanks.
I'll tell you. We'll show you what we did when you canceled.
Well, she's awesome. We love her.
Love you.
Feel better by all means, and we will see you next week. But for us, we have no show, so we figured we would just chat it up for a few minutes and maybe do a studio tour or something else, what with our preparation having gone completely right out the window. It's the truth. It's the truth. What are you going to do? No biggie. Oh, we could always do this. Ready?
Oh,
hello.
Oh, meow, meow.
Hello. Hi, meow, meow.
Prettiest animal ever.
It's funny, I said the David Letterman influence the other day, but I really should give proper credit because I do believe this would be Meryl Marco influence here. And I just want to be fair there because our dream would be that Meryl eventually someday hears about this show even existing and would come on as a guest. That would be my dream.
We're friends on Facebook. I think I'm going to go bold and tag her on this one.
Okay.
Because her name comes up a lot.
Because how could you not?
There's so much influence.
Oh, God.
She's so pretty.
Arr.
Arr.
She's doing her best pirate impression now. Most people didn't know that we had a cat that did impressions. She's so talented.
She picks up everything from you, I swear, because she sits with you and she just must absorb all of your brilliance.
You know what's funny? Actually, because we don't have anything else to do, you keep talking.
Okay.
And I'm going to show exactly what that is. You keep talking as if you're seeing it.
He's going to show you something, and I'm going to pretend I know what it is.
Well, no, just keep watching the monitor.
Oh, I'm watching my hair. I washed it today, and I did not do anything to it. It's very thin and want to be curly. Oh, meow, meow. That is Meow Meow. She is 16. Her birthday is also in September, like Jay's. They might actually have the same birthday, but a colleague of mine at the time found her, so I don't exactly know how old she is, but she was 3 weeks old, the vet said, when she was found, and I got her like a week later. She is the prettiest animal. I think she's a Maine Coon or something like it.
Yeah, I think, when I looked into it, she's Maine Coon Norwegian Forest Cat.
Oh. She always looks to me like those videos of the cats in the really cold climate that are like jumping around in the snow.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, she just has a wild look to her, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, little, not enough headroom.
Uh-oh.
So this is what we do. This is what goes into.
This is how you make a show?
Yeah. All the little things.
I'm not glad this happened, Kate. But
If we had a crew, that would be other people
that,
doing that
okay,
stuff.
okay, this was
It
I
wouldn't
wrote
be
it
normally
down.
just me.
I wrote this down because you know what goes into making TV shows, and this is
Little
kind of
bit.
a mini TV show.
Yeah, we're certainly treating it as a mini TV show. I mean, we built a studio in our house, quite literally. You know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
lights and speakers and cables and wires everywhere.
Well, because it's our job, and people, and it's fun, but it's the job, and you really made this professional, and you did all the work of. My point is that you did all the work of so many people,
Oh,
and that
Thank you.
never. I am really bad at celebrating that, because in my old life, I only saw the outside of it, like a closer member of an audience, but still like a fan.
yeah.
And you were on the inside, so this is. When the gas situation happened today, I of course melted down because that's what I do. And thanks, Kate. Yeah, I know. I came back pretty quick today. That's exciting. But it's like having a sidekick that's off the rails, and you also do all the production and the building and the.
Yeah, I try to explain that. I'm like, oh, it's not just a host thing. It's like we're also producers, and then I'm also the director and the crew and the the audio guy and the lighting guy and the. Yeah, so I mean it's fun.
It is fun. It's
Oh,
fun
you're
to-
saying that the fact that I have the ability to do it?
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Yeah. if
Well,
it-
having my own television show in high school where I had to do everything, you know what I mean? Maybe that was part of it. Maybe that's where I originally learned, and then my education went through, News 12, the whatever the local station in Connecticut and Long Island, and then 30 Rock and NBC. I mean, it's just all. I had a lot of experience doing crew stuff before I got into production and producing and whatever above the line stuff. I still
really-
remember how to do all this. In fact, I bet there's way better ways to do it these days, and I'm doing all of the
You're doing the old school
the old
shit.
antiquated. Yeah, like what? You don't need to run cable. Everything's Wi-Fi these days, bro. Like I don't know. Whatever, but yes.
But it looks so
a little
much
old school.
better, and we get to have the conversations that the old school people had. And to me, it's all correlated.
That I think is the goal, right? I mean, that's what we wanted, was to be able to capture a little bit of old late night talk show, just that feeling, really the energy, the fact that you can talk about anything, and it wasn't about promotion, and it wasn't about my movie and my book and
There's no agenda.
my fucking Facebook and everything else. Whereas, yeah, no agenda. Man, it used to just be Johnny would be talking to so-and-so, and then somebody would just walk through,
that was
and
the
that was a
greatest.
moment that everyone was talking about. It
And
was
you
so cool.
showed me so many old Letterman clips where he would go across the hall to the news station
Oh, the
when
best.
Al
Live at
Roker
5.
was there
The
when he was on
best.
local news before he was the guy from the Today Show.
I'm considering kittycam our Live at 5 across the hall. There's no doubt about it. By the way, somebody is stretched out, still breathing. That's all we care about. Still breathing, meow meow. We love you. I love that cat beyond words. Beyond words. Well, we're 8 minutes in. How are we doing?
Well, that was a bumper to like Al Roker, that part.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that all?
No.
Did they
I just I get when I'm not driving, I forget what we're actually doing. So you got to keep me on topic.
I'm the worst.
Yeah, I used to love that, the Live at 5 stuff. Anything across the, I mean, one of the shows that we developed, I came up with, we have that element in it.
Yeah, I'm super excited about that part. There's two projects, and one of them I think about all the time because every time there's a Marimarca moment, I write it down, and you've seen all my note cards and stuff. It's the antiquated way of doing that too, instead of like texting yourself notes, which is probably what people
I'm sure
do
that's
now.
what people do. I am all about the cards and putting it up on the wall.
And Joe Rogan's always like I record on my whatever voice memo.
Do you do that at all?
No, I don't like my
Have you
voice.
tried it at all?
No, because I don't like my. This is painful. Every time I watch this, I'm like.
Doesn't this help you though? Because you're retraining yourself to hear what you look like, or hear what. That's right. Have you heard what you look like? My God. You know what I'm saying?
It is desensitizing me to me, which is the goal I think that everyone needs. But that's why I don't like Alexa and all that crap. Like I don't want to hear my voice.
So you don't do the thing?
No, I don't do the voice
Have you ever
memo.
tried it?
No.
I haven't either, and I feel like and that's Joe Rogan's point, if we just would try it, we probably would like it. It would be awesome. For me, it's a matter of I'm more visual, and I need to be able to put it someplace. That's why, all of this stuff, or even when I'm working on the computer or something, generally it's a visual layout, so I can kind of follow it with my brain.
Well, when you did, I know your show was different in high school because you were kind of in charge of all of it, like here. But when you
the only reason it was different at all was because it was a direct clone copy ripoff of Letterman. I mean, we did the top 10 lists out of his book and stuff like that. I mean, that's the only reason it was different. Was we really ripped off. Yeah, I mean, of course. Well, I didn't know any better. I didn't know anything else, and it was my favorite thing in the world at the time. The show, late night. Not David Letterman. David Letterman's awesome and everything, but the show. Like what the place, the what I loved about it personally was that they created this environment where you wanted to hang out. You just wanted to hang out. Kids like me wanted to hang out there. Adults wanted to hang out there. Women wanted to get with Dave, and guys wanted to be like Dave. But the environment was like, there was something really creative and comfortable. And I don't even know where I'm going with this, but for me, it wasn't even David Letterman. It was just that set was cool, and all of his stuff was cool. Hello, still to this day, I have a replica of the mic David Letterman used to use on the day. But that's what I did for my television show in high school. Like I spent every dollar I had to buy an old classic microphone. Then I had it chromed. Then I had a stand made to look like it. I mean, crazy. Because I was like, oh, these are the details, and if I want to create my own little environment, I need these details. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So that's what I did, and then that's what I did here, just without the like childhood obsessive. Like there are little nods here and there, but this is our dining room. There's no desk and chairs here.
I feel like you've grown into yourself as a creator, producer kind of guy, and like this is your thing versus a replica of what you saw on TV.
That's fair.
That's the evolution of all of this stuff, because every talk show host out there did what you did.
You think that's true? Do you think that's true? Sorry, I was sitting on me listening to you. Sorry.
I think they wanted to, for sure. And every single one of the big ones has talked about the things that they've done that emulated Dave.
Yeah. Kimmel for sure,
but also like down to like it all filters through. Like Chris Gethard has talked about the Kimmels that have influenced him and literally saved his life by being comedians.
True.
So...
And Gethard got some of Letterman's set out of the dumpster for his show.
Totally. So it all comes from somewhere,
Totally.
And they all talk about it, and it's so obvious to me the ones that wanted to be like him or were haters that like didn't even acknowledge that they were haters, but like react. Didn't we just watch something that was like talking about haters and don't?
Maybe.
I don't remember, but
that's all right.
It's just such a fascinating little place, and I'm super glad to be part of this because it's like a mini version of that.
Well, getting back to it, you said, how did you learn all that stuff? And it was osmosis. I learned it by putting myself in those environments and just taking it all in. So I was like, oh, they have this many lights for this amount of whatever the heck. Well, why would that be? And then I would just dissect all of the information and be like, all right, well, that light is there, and these other lights are at these places, and they're focused on the same place. So I would say, oh, there's a reason for that, and then I would just replicate what I saw, and then tweak it until it looked like I wanted it to look, which was generally how I saw. So that's why this show, I personally think gets better looking each episode because I'm learning. I'm able to make those tweaks that you would make on a real television show.
Yeah.
Like the producer calls that technical calls and production calls that they would make.
And that's what's great about you. Like I could see, and I could be critical because I'm critical, like my voice, like what you were saying, but you know how to fix whatever is irking you about whatever.
Well, if I see, right. If I'm able to locate the problem, I'm able to locate a solution for it. And generally, it's not even problems. It's me looking around going, does everything represent us? Me, us, whatever we're saying at the time, and is it aesthetically pleasing? Am I happy with things? Does everything look as good as it could look, etc.? People remember when we were working on this before we were on the air, so to speak, and it was like months, and people were like, "Yeah, but are you doing it or not?" I was like, "Yeah, no, we're working on it." And it was like, well, what the fuck? What could possibly? You only need an iPhone to do a podcast. Technically, that's what I tell people all the time. And it was like, well, yeah, but we don't want to just do a podcast. We're doing this whole thing, so it takes time and effort and planning and all of that.
There's a lot that comes together. And my other note here was like Larry Sanders and like the things that Gary Shanley did that I think he was exploring all of those questions too, just on a TV show. And like, I feel like I get to explore them on a podcast and the pressure's on you to run, which is horrible. Well, but it feels similar to his show. Like,
the Larry Sanders show?
Yeah, exploring the pieces that go into a show. And so, like, when a guest cancels or whatever.
This is what people don't understand. Yeah. You know, a lot of people today think of David Letterman and they picture the old guy in the Ed Sullivan Theater. Nothing wrong with that. He delivered great programming for all of his 30x years. What I think of David Letterman, I think of 6A David Letterman, the guy who was pushing all the boundaries at NBC, going across the hall. And
6A NBC, like in 30 Rock and...
Exactly. The Holy Land for me, where I got into all of this stuff. I mean, anytime we go to 30 Rock, I insist on going down to 6A just to see what was Dr. Oz one time, and then it was Meredith Vieira, and it was fucking the Martin Short, Maya and Marty or whatever, that show for a little bit. I have to go in and see it every time because it's not only the room that got me into wanting to do any of all this stuff. And again, not because of David Letterman. It was the environment when I went and saw the show the first time with my Aunt Catherine and stuff. It doesn't matter.
Totally.
But every time I go there, I have to see what it's like. There's an energy. The stuff that's happened there, you know what I mean? That's why I think I'm so fascinated. I'm such a history buff and a historian in so many ways and things.
You are, and via pop culture sometimes it seems. And you're not a pop culture guy, so it doesn't fit. But like, I wrote my thesis on basically you, so energetically I think I wheeled you into my life, which is cool.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
And thanks.
There's just so much more that goes into the making of the show, and my thesis was on how the shows kind of indoctrinate and educate the audience. So like from the opposite side, but
there's a lot of people who get their news. That's what you were saying, right? A lot of people get their news from late night, even more so today, but 20 years ago for sure.
I think actually more so then there was less options. So like my focus was like on the Comedy Central, like the Jon Stewarts and the Daily Show and the whatever, because it was the more specialized like version of.
Well, the Daily Show, and I had a Daily Show shirt on before this Bullock shirt, Kate. Because Kate used to work on the Daily Show. And we never overlapped there, I don't think. We didn't. No. She was long gone. But yeah, I had a Daily Show shirt. I'm sorry for that. I think the Daily Show specifically, because Jon Stewart, when he took over the Daily Show from Craig Kilborn, they, the producers and such, I want to give him a lot of the credit though, changed it. They changed it into a newsreader format. They changed it into... there used to be a news element to it. It was the Daily Show, but there was a couch and there was guests, and it was not the format that we all know today. Jon Stewart did that, and the people around him. Kate was part of that, and all of the producers around him. And I think that was a dramatic shift for late night because it was outstanding. It was great. It was different at the time. To the point where I think everybody else is now doing a version of The Daily Show. For a long time, everyone was doing a version of Letterman's show, which before that, a version of Carson's show, etc. Nowadays, everybody's doing a version of The Daily Show. Jon Stewart's The Daily Show. I could go on for hours, by the way. I'm sorry if I'm talking too much. I could listen to you
for hours. No, okay. I'm fascinated.
So I think that with that, there's just a changing of the guard. I feel that a lot of people were... It doesn't matter. That's. I want to get into some of this stuff with Kate because, we share a lot of views, and we do oppose on some. I kind of want to have the discussion.
Oh yeah, can't wait to see that.
But so maybe I'll shelve where I was going to go with that. But it's interesting if you look at late night television today, including Colbert, etc. They're really all doing a version of Jon Stewart's show. Seth Meyers, I would say. Specifically because he's doing his version of the his news which he did on SNL, which is the same thing. It's a newsreader format.
Okay.
And it was very European style and very the Brits have a lot of newsreader type.
Yeah.
It's just their format. So I don't know. I mean, I think that's where a lot of the pulpit, preachy, pomp and circumstance kind of element that is going on right now in late night that didn't used to. I think a lot of that's where it's coming from. They're being treated as news outlets, and that is
It's a really astute
it's
observation.
what happened 20 years ago. You saw it before everyone else started doing it, is what I think.
Oh, cool. Well, I'm really glad I was ahead of the game on that one.
But you did write it about me because you're exactly right. I got I know everything about the 80s and 90s through my watching my religious watching of late night television. That's
That
where I
comes
got all my
across.
anything current came from that.
It's so interesting. It's so interesting that's because I think I was starting to realize that in college too. Because prior to that, I was living with
What
my
years
parents.
did you go to college?
97, fall of 97 to like May of 01.
God, I was already into talk for a decade almost.
You
Isn't that
were?
crazy? Yeah,
That
just
long?
about. I mean, into Letterman since 90. I mean, hardcore into him since
So
90.
So interesting because
But
I think
I was obsessed with all talk. I mean, CNBC had just started at the time, and that was a cable. It was going to be whatever you know of CNBC today. It's not what it originally was. It was originally a talk show network that they rebranded.
That's
and
right.
It was like a news network at first for a couple of years, and it wasn't working well. So in 90 whatever, 4, call it 3.
Yeah.
I think it was around when Letterman went to CBS. So probably around 92, 93.
Okay.
They rebranded the entire network as a talk network, and they
And that's
even
just
had
when
a
everyone
contest.
got deals.
They gave Charles Grodin got a show, Tom Snyder got a show, like all these people got shows, and they were mostly good. Some of them were good, but just the fact that there was so much talk, and then daytime talk, you had all of the the daytime shows with you had Donahue and Oprah, but there was Sally Jesse, and then there were
Jenny Jones.
I was going to say that one, but what's the guy who ended up going to Jerry Springer. I put up with Sally Jesse and
Yep.
Jenny Jones. They were all kind of similar.
Ricky
But
Lake.
then there was Ricky Lake. There was Richard Bay. There were so stinking many. Rolanda Watts had a show. Tempest Bledsoe had a show. I mean, you name it. That's what I'm saying. I watched them all. You want to get obscure? Stephanie Miller had a show. What's her name? She's always with Jay. Paula Poundstone. She had a show. I mean, all these people had shows. Now they weren't, on the network at 11:30 p.m., but they were all syndicated
outlets.
shows that were all over the place. And we're not talking about Arsenio and Sinbad
Right.
had a show, and you remember the Magic Hour with Magic Johnson. There are a million.
Totally
I watched
forgot
them
about
all,
that.
every single one.
The fact that
That's
you
all I did.
can name all of those is so above and beyond me.
It's all I did. All I did was take in this information and learn how to talk in this manner.
Yeah. That's amazing.
So then I took this to real life, and then I'm basically hosting every conversation I have and not having any clue what to do with it. And people must have thought, like, what the fuck? You're so weird. Added to, I used to
Yeah.
drink in my 20s and stuff, and like I was just figuring that out too. So, I mean, imagine just a fucking explosion of talk show host in your face.
Yeah.
It's too much.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
It's too much.
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah. Without an outlet, it's like comedians that say like they need to get on stage. Like Jerry Seinfeld the other day, I read something the other day that like he's like, if I don't go up every 4 days, like I'll explode.
Yeah. We watched something else where somebody quoted that.
Yeah, you're an interesting cat. Most of the people, this is what it is. Most of the people like you are behind the scenes. So if I'd known, I'm glad I didn't know you then, but if I had like so many of the people I interacted with all the time are so much like you.
Yeah.
They're just behind the scenes.
Right. So, are you saying I should be behind the scenes?
No, I'm saying this is what makes you unique and what makes you so special. Like the talk show guys that really kind of charge movements and make waves. You're in front of it. You own your shit, man. Is that meow meow? Oh. Oh, meow meow.
I don't want to full-blown call it a lull, but it just felt like a moment where we should cut to meow meow.
It was a lull, and I'll stop talking. This is part of your horrible job of having to rein in the sidekick.
Here's what's good. You've had me talking so long. We're already 25 minutes in without any subject matter or show plan. So there's been no production thus far. We've just simply bounced around kittycam. We've given a tour a little bit.
Well, this is a win.
And we've talked about my wasted youth watching talk shows.
It's not wasted, man.
No, it won't be now, but I mean, for a long time, it was kind of, what the fuck are you going to do with all of that information you have amassed? You know what I mean? Like, what on earth?
Yeah,
That's where I was.
Yeah, but now, now
Because I'm not, you know what I mean? At 40 years old or whatever, they don't give 40-year-old nobodies their own talk shows. They just don't. That doesn't work.
No. No,
No matter what you've heard and what you've seen, it's not how it happens.
What do you mean?
You're so great.
Oh, no.
Want to see if you pick anything up there.
If I pick what up there?
You started we're learning how to be better about this. You started talking like you were going to go somewhere, but you didn't. You just kind of trailed off. Yeah.
My note says drop it, and I saw that because I was I'm trying really hard to get better about when I go off the rails so that I don't put that pressure on you. So I left
good
myself
for
a
you.
note saying drop it. And I'm not always good at conveying that I've seen that note to you.
It's your yes and. You love to talk about it. It's improv. It's yes and. But you jump straight to and without ever yesing. So people are just like,
Yeah, I didn't
I
didn't do anything formal with my comedy training. I just watched everyone else.
This was my training, right? In high school and whatever the heck. So
Okay.
I'm not saying I'm good at this or anything, but whatever the comfort level that I have, it will come from. This is our 17th show. That's amazing.
That is pretty amazing.
It's like a month's worth.
And
Yesterday was a month's worth.
just to jump on the bandwagon of absorption of information.
Say again?
To jump on the bandwagon of absorption of information.
So it was absorption of information. Just
Yeah.
making sure.
I absorbed my information from stand-up comedians.
Yes.
You absorbed yours from late night hosts, and I keep saying I love improv and I want to be like that, and I did not absorb.
But yet that was not your schooling at all
from anyone that does improv.
Well, it's interesting. You worked with stand-ups first before you got into working with improv actors, comedians.
Yeah.
So, maybe you just weren't trained up on that. You know what I mean? Like you weren't prepped to look for it or how to.
I wasn't.
So then all of a sudden you start working with, call it UCB type people, and you've still got your I'm delivering the information. And it's like, no, this is a give and take. We all kind of.
Yeah, this was the epiphany I came to this morning that I wanted to talk to Kate about because I think it's affected my health, and she's asked me a lot of questions about that.
Oh wow!
And she's obviously got a history in comedy as well. So
Very much.
Kate, it's definitely how I absorbed and when I started breaking down and I was still trying to go in my stand-up mode, like improv people, it doesn't work. So it's like comedy. Comedy's like
Well, it's monologue and dialogue, right? I mean, that's what it comes down to. Stand-up is a delivering of information, and improv is more of sharing and developing together.
Yeah, so improv feels more solution-oriented. Like, let's both come at this. Like, I threw out.
There's different ways to look at it.
Yeah.
Well, in my opinion, I don't want to cut you off though. Improv to me, all right. They're both incredible skills, right? But improv, you're figuring it out along the way, and stand up, well, you have to figure it out along the way. Like when you're at your special time or whatever, you've got to have it down.
Yeah.
So you are taking command and taking control and, like I keep saying, delivering information in a way that you have crafted, like painfully crafted over a long amount of time.
Yeah.
And I say painfully because you have to know what doesn't work to make it work. You know what I mean? You could get the laugh every time, but you almost have to poke at it in certain places and find the weak spots so that you can harness it into the fucking gold that the people we respect deliver. Whereas improv is kind of like, all right, well, yeah, we're at a gas station. All right, where do we go from there? And then it's like pooling resources and pooling brain power of like, all right, yeah, let's get here wherever. It's team sports versus Michael Knight. That's why I always, I'm talking too much. I'm shut up.
No, this is you are the yin and my yang in a great way. Because you bring up all these points that I just don't necessarily look at. But you're right. Stand-up, a lot of, when I was working primarily with stand-ups, a lot of the comparisons we would get were with preachers.
Mm-hmm.
And Chris Rock's dad was a preacher,
Mm-hmm.
or grandfather, I mean. And so I definitely see that coming through in a lot of the stand-ups. And with talk shows are kind of the hosts of talk shows that I notice and that I saw when I was writing about it. It's like it's more of an amalgamation of facts. It's figuring out, like, stand-ups, you're right, have to hone and really, really craft. That's why they're on the road all the time. They're
Right.
constantly doing a lot of the same material from a different perspective or to a different crowd to get a different reaction or whatever.
just pulling threads to find out what works.
Yeah. And talk show hosts kind of have to do that live every day with news and with, so it's kind of a weird hybrid of improv and stand-up.
Agreed.
And that's where
I think that's why I have an understanding of, and I'm not saying that, by the way, this is just my opinion, obviously. I mean, I'm not the be-all, end-all fucking talk show expert, but
I validate.
well, I mean, I do feel like I speak with some authority because I definitely do know what the heck I'm talking about. I'm not a fake talk show expert,
Right.
if there is such a thing. And I'm not proud of being a talk show expert. It's not like I'm going, look at me. I have done it. I've watched it all. I'm a pale, skinny, non-athletic.
I was watching a special last night, speaking of, and he was like, people say that you can't learn anything from TV. And he's like, if that were true, I wouldn't know that so-and-so is a cop in Louisiana. Steven Seagal.
Oh,
Like
right. He's a sheriff.
So you can learn a lot from... is that meow meow?
Yeah,
Oh,
but I'm not because you're being boring. Sorry.
but I lost
every
my
time I
point.
look at her so
So it
cute.
doesn't matter.
Well, it's been over half an hour.
It's time to go anyway, so we'll pick up on all this with Kate when you come back. A lot of this is really directed at your conversation and what you add to the table, at least
pick
from
it
my
up.
perspective.
We'll pick it
We'll
up.
see you next week.
It'll be nice to have an expert in the room about it
Yeah.
instead of just us. Are we good?
We're good.
I mean, not too bad for a no-show. We talked for a half hour. I can't wait to watch it back and see what the hell I talked about.
Talk about comedy, man. I'm glad we're
I
getting
go into the
that.
zone though, and I'm just like, yeah, it doesn't matter.
That's why the girls wanted to be with Letterman. We like that space.
Oh, good.
Don't worry about it.
All right, fair enough.
I love you. Goodbye.
All right, I love you, Mrs. Ryan. We love everybody out there too. Thank you very much for watching. Kate, feel better. We love you too.
Love you.
And we will see everybody tomorrow.